You on TikTok, right?
No.
Are you in any social media?
Yeah.
Have you seen the whole like TikTok NPC thing?
Explain it further, and I will tell you if I've seen it or not.
Okay. There's this new TikTok trend that started with this female where she acted like an NPC and people give her tips to do NPC kind of things. Do you know
Hmm.
what an NPC stands for?
Yes, but I can't tell you in this moment right now.
Okay, but you understand what I mean. But you know the TikTok trend.
Yeah.
You never heard of it, like seen it or something.
I think I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it. Yeah. So, what is following this?
What do you
This.
think of it?
Oh, I mean, I've seen it like once or twice, so I don't think that I can say much about it. Um, it's interesting for sure, but I don't understand the purpose. I guess.
It's pretty much the woman is acting like an NPC or like a robot to say, and people give her tips like money to like just to act like an NPC or a
Yeah.
robot. You know,
Yeah.
is that kind of thing? You know,
Okay. I mean, to each their own, I guess.
to each their own. On the woman's side or the people tipping her.
I mean, good on her, I guess, for getting banked some way. And for them, it's kind of like a, do you have nothing else to do with your money for you to be doing that? And if that's what they want to be doing with their money, then that's their life. I mean, personally, I would not be using my money on another person like that who I don't know. Personally, I think I'd be on a yacht somewhere. But hey, to each their own, I guess.
You think it's a kink?
It probably is some sort of fetish. Yeah. Most likely. I mean, knowing the way people are and how the spectrum of fetishes and kinks and whatnots can range from like fucking mind blowing shit to like normal ass shit. I mean,
You know, when I first saw that video, I
mhm.
immediately understood what it was because I understood where it came from. You know
Okay.
how? You
How?
know how?
You're on site
Well,
what?
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 What did you say?
No, tell me how.
Nah, nah. Say it. Please repeat. Please say with
I
shit.
didn't say anything. Just tell me how.
Well, back in my youth, I was in some forums. Checking those forums. Of course, I did not. I did not participate. I'm more
Are you
of like
sure?
an observer. Yeah, I'm more an
Okay.
observer
All
instead of
right.
not a participant. And
Okay.
in some specific forums, there'll be some chatting, some misogynistic chatting
Mm-hmm.
about how they want females to act. And in one of the uses would how a user would describe how they want a female to act is he's pretty much just describing a robot or an NPC.
All right.
That's how he's pretty much describing. And through there, how he described it, other people started latching on to that description of how they want a female to be.
Hmm.
Some misogynist insult type shit.
Yeah.
So that was like I don't know, like years ago. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay. But then as time goes by, that shit keeps coming. More people
Okay.
keep talking about that shit. And then OnlyFans comes up. You know what OnlyFans is?
Yes, I do.
Now OnlyFans comes up. That brings a whole rise of people bringing up like just coming into the public eye. But
Yeah.
now OnlyFans, you know what females do in OnlyFans, right? What most females do in OnlyFans,
Yeah.
like
What you want me to say? Like what? When you know that I know what they do.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Instigator.
now,
Jesus. Mm-hmm.
what I noticed is like there's a split on what exactly females do. What these men want in these OnlyFans is like a split. There's a
Question.
split.
Question. Before you continue talking,
Yeah.
why do you use females but you say men? You want to sip some more of your iced coffee? Tell me. I'm
um.
very intrigued.
Now that's just my language.
It's just why is it your language?
I switched out between females, women, girls.
I haven't heard you say women at all in this entire conversation. When do you switch it up?
Fine, out of respect, I'll say women
Good.
from now on in this current conversation.
Yeah. Of course, it's in this current conversation. Uh-huh. Keep on talking.
So I've noticed that this split in the type of content, there's this split where it's just sexual
Yeah.
and non-sexual content.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this there's like somehow this sexual and non-sexual content in this kind of OnlyFans split, and now
Mm-hmm.
through this non-sexual content, this whole NPC has arrived
Mm-hmm.
because again, these are not my views because I am a feminist. These are the views of the people I have spectated and peered in their
Yeah.
forums
Okay.
and how they want this autonomy of female, like just like a female robot that just gives responses to them. Because like, oh yeah,
All of
you're
them.
not in the internet, so you won't really understand the meme. Because like, okay, have you seen like Blade Runner 2049?
I mean, I've watched the trailer.
Oh my god.
I know what it's about. I know what it's about.
No, you,
Continue.
you gotta see it. You have to have seen it at least once for me to actually explain it to you. Because the trailer isn't enough. The trailer isn't enough.
Of course, the trailer is not enough, but I get the gist of what it is. Tell me.
Okay,
Hmm.
do you know about the hologram girlfriend? See, see.
Why? Do you want to explain the whole movie to me then?
No.
Okay, then don't bring up it as an example. Choose a different example.
Well, if you're at least on social media, you would understand the meme, but you
I
don't.
am on social media. Why you think just because I said I'm not on TikTok, now you're assuming that I'm just what, a hermit or some shit like that. I'm not. I don't access the internet at all or some shit.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying. Okay. Fuck. Fuck. Now I have to like go to so many different corners just to explain it to. Fuck. Okay. Where was I again?
You were talking about Blade, but I don't know what your point was. I mean, you were talking about how men want women to be robots or some shit. Some,
How those men want
mhm,
women to be robots.
yeah.
You know, just to like condense it down, since there's actually so much background about it. It's pretty much about intimacy. You
Okay,
understand that part.
sure. Go ahead.
So what I've noticed is like other than like just to separate the sexual part from all this kind of content, what
Mhm.
these guys really derive, what want to derive is intimacy.
Yeah.
This fake kind of intimacy that they want to gather from the internet.
Okay.
Have you noticed that?
I feel like there's a certain level of control that I can't speak for all men, but a lot of men need over their significant other. And in most cases, in a more hetero sense of it, there's a certain level of control that men I don't know, desire to have, need to have, want to have, I don't know what word to use, but and so sometimes when you can just have something that resembles everything that you want to have in a woman, minus her own thoughts and her own perspective on life and her own everything, basically.
aka a robot.
That sounds appealing because in that way you don't have arguments about shit. You don't have the constant, I don't know, realization that you're not right about everything. You know, all of these various things that come with being in a relationship with an actual living person who has their own thoughts and dreams and perspectives and everything about life, you know? And I feel like why you don't hear women having like you don't hear a lot. Maybe there is a niche of women, a group of women. I don't know. I've never encountered them. I don't know. It hasn't been something that has been out there. I think personally, I at least haven't seen or heard anything like that. But you have men being like, "Oh, I want a woman to be like to act like an object," and you're like, "Why is that though?" You know what I mean? Like you have like there's some people out there who, I mean, this is a different case where you have like a man who maybe has like, I don't know, let's say 10 sex dolls in his house, and he doesn't have a woman. He's not in a relationship with a woman. And to him, these sex dolls are like everything. They're not just sex dolls. They're like, they provide a certain level of intimacy and he cares for them and he loves them, but they don't speak to him. They don't say anything, but he has conversations with them. I mean, at some point you kind of like, that's borderline kind of delusional a little bit, but like it's situations like that where like it's either like there's a certain level of like, I'm afraid of women and therefore I can't approach a real woman who can speak to me and like, share her thoughts with me and everything like that. I'd rather have someone who can't say anything at all, who can't disagree with what I'm doing, who can't do A, B, and C that a real woman would do, and therefore I'm going to stick with this because this is what I desire more than having someone who I can't control to a certain extent.
So, do you think for true intimacy, it has to work both ways?
In what sense?
Like, from your example of a guy with sex dolls,
Yeah.
technically that still is intimacy on his way. But for true
Yeah.
intimacy between two actual living people, do you
Hmm.
think it has to work both ways?
Mm, I think so, yeah. I think there has to be a certain level of, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's so many different things that you can like add in as like factors and shit. Like there are people who are genuinely just attracted to inanimate oh my gosh, objects. And in that situation I don't necessarily know what attracts them to them. I don't know what they gain from the relationships that they build with these inanimate objects. Like, I don't know if you heard about the woman who married the Eiffel Tower and then
Yeah.
she she divorced the Eiffel Tower to marry a fence. Like things like that where you're like, I don't want to disrespect it or anything, but what about a fence attracts you to it sexually? What about offense like brings an emotional like and like I've seen a lot of these cases where it's not just a, oh, I like the way that it like bends and it's straight and it has like nails in it. It's not that. It's like, and she listens to me. Like, not only are they personifying the fence, but it's like they're not just sitting there, just sitting with the fence. They're having conversations with the fence. And there's a certain level of perspective that this fence has. And so it's things like that where like now when you apply that to like people who decide to have, and I don't know if it's a choice, I don't know if it's something that they choose to do, or it's just them adapting to what their environment is, what them being alone or them not being able to connect with somebody. I don't know what it is, but when you have situations where you have a person attracted to a sex doll, whatever that might be, whoever this person might be, and they choose to then live their life with this sex doll, and they're happy with that. Like, I don't know, I don't understand that, and I don't want to disrespect it because I don't know what that's like, but I find that interesting. And leading back, sorry, this was all a loop back to your question. It wasn't off track, by the way, but like they have that intimacy, you know what I mean? Like that sex doll and that person, you know, an inanimate object that is maybe there to comfort them, but its primary use is for sex. And you have a person with real feelings, is
I
breathing.
mean, I wouldn't say its primary use is for sex because again, there's this. It's a split. It's a split between sex and just asexual stuff of intimacy.
Yeah, but primarily that's what a sex doll is for sex. And then yeah, what type of sex, that's different. But like you have like people have created a sex doll for a purpose, and its purpose is to provide pleasure for the person that has received this sex doll. Yes, now whether or not that person decides to create a certain level of like emotional intimacy with this sex doll, that's a different thing. That's additional stuff, but it's
Okay,
used to
then
do that.
I'll ask you this: you think the people who are tipping this TikTok woman,
Mm.
you think they're getting sexual pleasure from it or emotional pleasure? Because I would say from my years of peering into those type of people, I would say it's more emotional pleasure than sexual pleasure. Of course, there are some people who are tipping and jacking up, but I'd say most of it is from emotional pleasure.
I mean,
Just to get
probably.
that reaction from a person, even though the person's acting like a robot.
I mean, I don't know. I think that there's different layers for sure. I think maybe for some people it's a certain level of, oh, I am able to control this person. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel, all of those type of, it's a power play type of situation. Whereas for some people it could actually just be, I like what I see and I'm gonna give money to what I like. It could be that. For the other person, I mean, a lot of the times it's maybe it makes them feel good about themselves. They're celebrating themselves in some way. Or they're just like, you know what, I'm good at this. I'm getting money for it. Let me do it. Like it's as simple as that. So I think that there's a lot of different reasons why a person would do that and why someone would also pay to do that. Some people just have disposable money that they can just throw at anything, and they really don't care where it goes. Some people are like that.
Now, in your opinion, so in terms of society wise, do
Mm.
you think what this woman is doing is helping society since it's just perpetuating the male stigma of females? Like she's making money from males on misogyny. Do you think that helps society wise?
I don't know. I don't know because you can't say that everyone who's giving her money is a man.
I
You
mean,
can't say
okay,
that.
sure, sure, but what she's doing is for a male audience. It's for a
Most
specific
likely her
niche
target.
male audience.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't know. That's tapping into like so many different things though. That's like okay, you can also make an argument with like porn, and you have this argument with like with OnlyFans. You have this argument with fetish sites where people like feet finders, that thing, like with that whole situation.
What's wrong with people who have feet? That doesn't ruin society.
No one said it ruins.
I don't like feet, but I'm just trying to help the little guy. The feet finder doesn't ruin society. I'm just saying.
You're adamant about that. How? It could.
How does having a feet kink ruin society?
You don't know that some people don't just stop at the feet. They want the feet. You get to be physically with them. You could okay, I'm sorry. I've been watching too much murder shit. but I'm talking about lives. Lives could be ruined. There could be someone who's deeply attracted to a certain set of feet, and that could cause stalking. That could cause fucking blackmail. That could cause killing. There's a lot of different things that it could cause. I mean, yeah, it might be stupid, but when you really deep it, when you think about it, and you think about all these other people that are out here doing what they're doing to people with feet, it's crazy.
I mean, that's a big assumption. Well, I'm just
It's not an
asking.
assumption. I've seen things.
Again, that's a big assumption in the personal level. When I'm just talking about how a TikTok trend perpetuates a male stigma about
Yeah.
females.
Um,
And should females be profiting over such a male stigma?
I mean, it doesn't help the youth. I can say that for a fact. It doesn't help people growing up. And I feel like
Just
when it comes
just
to
imagine the kids these days who are 15 and 16, when they
Mhm.
get a girl over, they be like, okay, act like those TikTok NPCs now.
Yeah, I just said that it's not good. What more do you want me to say? You know,
Nah, I just wanted to like paint a picture of it.
I think that a lot of situations like this, like why I brought out like when you talk about like I won't call it artificial, but it technically kind of is like when you talk about, for example, let's talk about porn in this case, right? And you have these situations that are highly like dramatic. It's setting a scene that very rarely does that actually occur, you know. And not only is it setting an unrealistic scene, it's setting unrealistic expectations for what a woman or what a man or what a person in general is capable of doing, or not even what they're capable, but what is normal to be done, you know. And so you have kids, in whatever ages that they're watching this on, which is, I mean, I have my opinions about that in general, but whatever. But you have someone constantly referring to these various videos as like a basis from what they think a person should be like when having sex. And that in itself shapes a mindset, and it could be detrimental to how a person grows and how they develop relationships in the future and what their expectations are when it comes to sex and various treatments of people in terms of like what partners they have and etc., right? When you have the same thing that can be applied, the same logic applied to trends of nowadays, and specifically this trend, is just that you have these expectations of, or you're creating certain expectations for children to grow up and become adults with these preferences, right? And it's not that it's not okay to have these preferences. Of course it's okay to have these preferences, but it's not okay for you to subject your perspective of what a woman should be on someone, because what a woman should be doesn't really exist. What a man should be doesn't really exist. It's completely a social construct of what exactly people think that people should be in society, which in certain places is applicable and it makes sense and everything. But when it comes to defining exactly what a woman should be, especially in a sense like that, and you have little boys looking at that, being like, "Oh, damn, that's something that I want," and then they continue to like enforce that on someone who, I don't know, maybe doesn't want that. Like that's not okay. I think it's very different when it's a whole situation where you're like, "Oh, I'm interested in this. Do you want to dive into this? Maybe let's explore this." And the person being open to exploring something like that, that's a different situation. But to have expectations that that's exactly how a person should be because you like the control that you have over a person being exactly like that. No.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. I think that's as much as we can go on. So I guess the conclusion is it is it is affecting the youth these days, but fuck it. The woman's getting dough, so allow it.
I mean, if she's loving what she's doing and she's doing what she's loving, then I mean, hey, to each their own.
Bitch.